all fired up.
I'm excited to hear you guys' thoughts on these things.
We got to move on before I completely emotionally and mentally unravel here. All right, welcome back to another episode of Roundball Radio, where we give you the takes you didn't ask for on basketball, pop culture, and everything else in between. I am your host today, JT Cunningham, and I am joined by a couple of my co-hosts. The first being Dylan Gorman. How you doing, Dylan?
What's up, big dog?
Not much. Back on the podcast after what, like a month off after the Open down in Arizona.
Yeah, man, I miss you guys. Like this is nice to talk a little basketball. Nice to see you guys. Nice to talk. I couldn't think of anything better to do on a Friday night, honestly.
Of course, yeah, not at all. And our other co-host is Samuel L. Hadler. How you doing, Sam?
Champion.
Well, that's true. Yeah, I can't take that away from you guys. Yeah, how's it feel to be the first ever Open champion? Both of you.
Oh, Sam, we got two now. We both got two
Yeah,
championships.
me and Dylan are both the only members who have 2 rings to their names, so it feels good. Feels real good.
At the top of the leaderboard. Yeah, I actually brought in the because I hadn't had the Minong Cup updated yet, so I brought that in to Lakeville Trophy Company. Shout out to those guys.
Nice.
Yeah, so to get Tanner and Sam Hadler get their place on the trophy, and then I had it there for like a week, and then I got an email saying, "How does it look?" And they just sent me a mock-up of the plaque that they're going to put on. So it was a week after I dropped it off, and the email I got was this mock-up of the plaque, and all it said was 2020 Borgen Hadler. And that was it. And I was like, I mean, it looks good. I don't know why it was this long of a wait for it, but all right, let's do it. So
Did you get like a little plate for the Open yet?
No, I gotta ask them about that next time I'm in, because I think I looked on their website and there actually were a couple options there. I didn't see any in the store when I dropped off the trophy, but yeah, I want one of those nice big was it Wimbledon that has the plate?
Wimbledon,
yes, for
yeah.
sure.
Are you talking for the Open?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. We need to switch it up a little bit. So we play for the cup and we play for the plate.
Yep, exactly. All right. Well, yeah, so we've been out for a while. We've been brought back together by the NBA trade deadline. But before we get into a day of deals, we're going to start with our segment on getting all fired up. So this is, of course, our segment that gets us all in the mood to discuss and ramble on and yell at each other. Really anything that got us kind of heated or excited or really, I guess, overly disappointed over the last month. But really anything at all that got us all fired up. So, Dylan, I'm going to start with you. What got you all fired up since our last episode?
All right, did you guys see Justice League, the Zack Snyder cut?
I mean, I haven't watched it, but I saw
no
it
idea
came
what
out.
you're talking about.
Oh, well, it was kind of like the thing over the last week on social media, because the Justice League came out like a couple years ago and it was just a flop. Like nobody liked it. So Zack Snyder, like the director, said it was because they cut out so much to make it theatrical version, right? So then this last weekend he came out with like a 4-hour version of the Justice League to go over like the whole storyline and stuff. And I am all fired up because I did not like it. It was like, well, one, it was 4 hours. Like, who needs a 4-hour movie for anything? But then a superhero movie, like, come on. I mean, you can do that for Endgame maybe, but not for Justice League. Two, since you guys didn't see it, it's like hard to explain how bad Batman was and how bad who plays Batman in that movie again? You guys remember?
Is it Ben Affleck? Is it still Ben Affleck? Okay.
Yeah, Affleck was so bad, and Batman was such an annoying, terrible character that I just could not watch it. Just to emphasize it, I'll give you 2 quotes he said, real quotes he said during the movie. They were about to go fight the bad guys, and he goes, "Yeah, they fought demons and they went through hell, but they've never fought us." And I was like, are you kidding me? And then at the end, so Superman's mom lost his home for some reason, and they foreclosed her home. And then instead of Superman just getting back the house, because he's fucking Superman, like he had to ask Batman to buy it back for him. and then like Superman's like, "Oh my God, how'd you do this?" And Batman's like, "I bought the bank." and it was like this dinky like $80,000 home. It's like, yo, Batman, you could have just bought the house. Why did you just buy the house? Why would you have to buy the bank?
Yeah.
So it was the most ridiculous thing, and I was just all fired up about it. I was like talking about Meg for like hours after. I'm like, I bought the bank, Meg. Like I just kept going doing that over and over again, and so that's what got me fired up over the weekend. So
did Meg actually sit through all 4 hours too?
Yeah, she likes that kind of. She likes superhero movies. She likes watching movies, and she didn't hate it as much as I did, but she definitely saw like those annoying flaws during it. So she understood.
Why do you think that like DC movies like that are unable to pull off the same thing that the Marvel movies have?
I think there's a couple things, like not to get too in depth, but one, they take themselves way too seriously.
I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they actually like he actually said like they haven't fought us. Like that's like the most cliche thing I've ever heard in my life. But two, like the superheroes are too superhero-y, It's like Wonder Woman can like jump across a city and like knock down a building. And it's like, yo, just like chill a little bit, It'd be nice if she could like, just like fight somebody like legitly, like they're like too superhuman. That's what was so bad about Batman during the movie. He couldn't do anything because he wasn't a superhero, So he'd be like, all right, guys, go get him, and then he'd just sit back and then walk in at the end. It's like So I think they just take themselves too seriously, and then it's just too big and too much.
Yeah,
I think that's my thing. So
I think you're right that's the biggest problem is they try. It's all supposed to be drama and action, and where the Marvel movies have succeeded, it's that lighthearted aspect of it of just you work in some comedies, you make it fun, and that's the right mixture, I think. But
yeah, they're legit funny, and then there's like they're close enough to being human where you can like relate, and in the DC it's like I don't know how you relate with any of those people,
right.
You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, that's fair. Well, sad to see that, or sad to hear that you spent 4 hours of your life in that way, but
that's tough.
Get them next time, DC. All right, Sam, what's got you all fired up?
All right, JT, since it's a shared interest between us three, and I'm too fired up to even explain it. Can you explain like the significance of the deal, like trade that I'm going to talk about? Like I mean, sorry to put you on the spot, but I mean, I can talk about it. I'll talk about it, and then I'll let you guys fill in any of the details.
Okay, sure.
All right. So we just had a trade go down today in our fantasy basketball league. That was lopsided, to say the least.
Bullshit. It's bullshit.
So Christian and Tanner. Christian acquired. So we have 8 teams. There's 4 playoff teams. Right now, Christian's in the playoffs. Tanner's out of the playoffs, so Christian was buying. Tanner was selling. Tanner traded Joel Embiid and Curry, basically, and $10 million in salary cap, essentially, just to make the trade work so that Chris can pull this off, for Norman Powell and a 3rd-round pick in this year's upcoming draft. So it was just. Oh man, I'm so fired up. I don't even. JT, take it from here, and then I'll chime. I really don't want to talk about this again because we've been talking about it all day in text, and I'm just gonna get in a bad mood for the rest of this pod.
Yeah. Poor Pat for having to listen to an absolute full day of fantasy basketball trade talk. So we're sorry.
You can say he's a trooper.
Yeah, well put. So I'm gonna be like. I'm the odd man out a little bit because I don't think it's that bad. For some context for the trade and for our league, and we've talked about it a little bit before, but we started this league I think in 2017, and that initial draft, obviously like all the players in the league were in that pool. You get the option after those first years, after you draft a guy, how long you want. To keep them, and it can be up to an additional 3 years. So basically what happened that first year was all the superstars were drafted and all the superstars were kept for an additional 3 years. This draft is when all of those guys are back on the table. So a third round pick in this draft is either equivalent to, in my opinion, or better than a first round pick any of the last 3 years. So that's a legitimately good asset. The Norman Powell inclusion does raise some questions as to what,
Thank you.
as to
Thank
whether
you.
he could have
That's
done
all I want to
better.
hear. I just want someone to tell me that Norman Powell's not the best player in the NBA. That's all I really care about. The rest of it doesn't matter to me. That's the part that like really frustrated me and got me all fired up. It's like he should not be considered like an asset that you would.
He's not an asset. Like,
that you would want moving forward. He's expendable in every way, every sense of the word. Like,
you can pick that guy up like at the end of any at that draft, no matter what. In the 10th round, you can pick him up. Yeah. You probably be able to pick him up off the waiver wire if you really want to. I mean, so to say he's even an asset in any sense of the word is a joke, you know.
Well,
I mean,
the thing that does sort of blow my mind a little bit is, did Tanner value Powell that highly that he went out and sought out that deal? Because like if you've got Chris coming and knocking himself for Embiid and Curry, yeah, why not farm him out to you two, the other two contenders, and say, well, what do you guys want? Like, what would you guys give me? And obviously, based on your reaction, it would have been more.
Well, that was my problem with that deal, and then also the deal with RJ Barrett and Curry. It's like, sure, you say you got an asset for something you're not gonna be able to keep next year, but like, is that the only asset you could get? Because it's really not an asset, you know. So if you would have shopped it around to me, Sam, he would have got a better offer because a third round pick. I mean, so I kind of disagree with you guys a little bit. I don't think the third round picks and fourth round and stuff like that is as valuable. I mean, you're still gonna get a good player, but like, I don't know, for two like top 5 players, like come on, like that's BS. Like if it was any other league, like people would like object to it, and like Ryan would have called you a million times by now. JT Hasbro would have had a heart attack.
I mean, it is what it is. You know, he had, I guess, a number in mind in which he wanted to get back. That third round pick, the kind of guys you're going to get in the third round this year are like sort of like all-star caliber players, or at least borderline. So it's not, you're not getting scrubs.
No. But the other thing too, he actually gave $10 million in cap space. Like, so that's how much he had to make it work. Like, my God. He gave like just everything.
For somebody who's basically tanking the rest of the season, what do you need cap space for?
I understand that, but how, you couldn't get another asset. You had to give a 6th round pick.
That's
you had to give a 6th round pick to him too. Like it just.
It's not so much the fact that he gave him $10 million in cap space. It's the fact that he needed to give him $10 million in cap space just to make this work for Chris's sake.
Yeah.
So Chris could not take on those salaries unless Tanner gave him $10 million in cash. It just shows you like, it's like, yeah. I mean, Tanner's basically paying for him to.
So, yeah, it's like Chris just robbed Tanner, and like
and Tanner's paying for it.
Yeah, and Chris is walking away, and Tanner's like, "Hey, I actually have my keys to my car. Do you want the keys too?" He's like giving him more stuff. It's like it was such a bad trade. Oh, that was awful.
And so, you know, there's like that quote. I can't think it off the top of my head, but like they always say in the NBA, like the best general managers or the best teams are the best teams because they take advantage of like the worst teams and the. Like that just reminds me of this. Like we have people in our league who make trades like that, and then there's always like the same teams at the top of the league who are always competing by taking advantage of the worst owners.
Hey,
that's what I thought about when I saw this trade.
Sam, you might be want to like watch your word with JT because last year we said the same thing about him.
Yeah.
Okay.
So here's the thing. Like I stand by that. Sorry, JT, but at least I see your vision, and I can at least see you like stockpiling some assets like to build for the future. So I didn't always agree with like your Jokic trade, but like you have a lot of good young assets and draft picks and all that. So from that standpoint, you're not like incompetent.
Well, and
thank you.
well, and like Triple J is like. People like I mostly think he's gonna be an all-star, you know. Still, and he's like a 5 category guy. He'd be a top 20 fantasy player. I mean, realistically.
And that's not.
I also do want to say, so that trade last year was Jokic for, did not get a pick out of that one. It was Horford and Jackson Jr. So that feels like a mistake. I wish I would have gotten a pick out of it. However, I got like 1 million picks for Trae Young, so whatever. But Jaren Jackson Jr. at that point, looked like he was absolutely on an upward trajectory. And I don't think Jokic at that point in the season when I traded him had been Jokic yet. Like,
no, he
definitely
was like,
not the Jokic of this year.
No, absolutely not.
He was like 18, like 10, and like 4 or 5, not like the 26, 12, and 7. You know?
So you look at that trade now and you think, oh my God, like that's what you got for Jokic, but that wasn't Jokic. And sitting on the bench for an entire year wasn't Jackson. So
I knew it was going to happen.
I guess that's why you're at the top, man.
But even with that trade, well, it's not a good trade, and I think Dylan completely fleeced you. The thing is, though, but JT, the thing is, though, at least you went for a guy who has upside. That's my whole thing with this trade with Christian Tanner.
Yeah.
There's no upside with Norman Powell. At least with me or like Dylan, like Halliburton was probably the best young asset that Tanner could have got from the contenders. And then for me, even like Garland and some of these other guys that I have, well, you may not be high on them. Like I'm not personally high on Garland as a player. He's got like actual like fantasy upside. He's got like actual upside potential as a player. Like we know who Norman Powell is at this point. He's a role player. He's a 3-and-D type guy, and he's not going to provide you any like relevant fantasy numbers. So to me, like at least you're going for guys who have upside. And JJJ, Triple J, whatever you want to call him, J cubed. At least he has like. I mean, there's a lot of hype on him, and like. He's got like a game that really could translate to like our fantasy numbers as well because he can produce in all the different categories. So even with him, like that's a guy that I would look for in a trade, like what Tanner was trying to do.
Oh, I'd much rather have like Halliburton than freaking Norman Powell. Like that was
no kidding.
It's like no joke. I mean, it's like that was so bad.
Yeah. The only part that irritated me, that got me really fired up, is Christian tried to defend Norman Powell. I was like, that's like, whatever, the trade is fine, but when you try to start defending Norman Powell, like, oh, Tanner gets him for 3 years, I'm just like over here.
But
like, oh my God.
Okay, but here's the thing, is Chris doesn't want to have the reputation that he's always ripping people off because people are going to stop doing deals with him.
We all think that. We all think that anyway.
I know. Everyone knows Tanner. Yeah. And he still tries to like put that perception under the rug. Like, but it's all like it's on the forefront. We all know about it.
I made a deal though with Chris earlier in the season, and I absolutely got the better of him in that one. So what
was that?
I gave him a year of Donovan Mitchell, and I got back Jimmy Butler on a fresh deal.
Oh yeah. You did. Yeah, you did. Yeah.
So you know what? Chris is human too.
Well, you probably thought Jimmy was out for the year, and that's probably what happened.
Like, that wasn't. What was the full trade? Or was it just that? I thought there were a couple.
Let me check.
Because I thought there were like another component of that, in which like Chris came out on top. But all in all, yeah, you did get, guy who.
It was Donovan Mitchell for Jimmy Butler and John Collins, which I actually just got another pick out of. So
yeah, that's really good. Yeah, so that's a good deal for you. Yeah, for sure.
Shut up, JT. You're not that incompetent.
Yeah, thank you. All right,
JT,
we have to move on.
Thank you.
We have to move on because Tanner is one of our most loyal listeners, and we can't rag on him this long. So.
He hasn't been in the chat yet, so he's not listening on this pod.
Well, that's probably true. Yeah, he would have chimed in by now.
Yeah, he would definitely have chimed in.
He probably logged off.
Yeah. He's crying right now. I'm just kidding. We love you, Tanner.
Yes, we do. All right. My all fired up is pretty simple. I don't think we need to get into it too much, but I was just real fired up to have March Madness back. I was so disappointed when we lost it last year, and I know, Dylan, like, you're not a huge fan of, like, the college game. And it takes a little bit out of it, too, when you don't have, like, the crowds and stuff in the games. But there's just something about college basketball in March and the unpredictability of it all. Like, you got Loyola Chicago making another run and Oral Roberts into the Sweet 16. And it's the best time of year to me, honestly.
I also forgot, are the games starting again tonight?
I think it's tomorrow, isn't it?
Probably Saturday and Sunday.
They have a little different schedule, which kind of threw me off a little bit.
Everything's like delayed like a day is what it seems like.
Yeah.
We have 4 games tomorrow, it looks like.
Okay.
So the first game is Loyola, who you just mentioned, against Oregon State. So one of those teams will be going to the Elite Eight, which is awesome.
And then, that's crazy for Oregon State too, because they wouldn't have even made the tournament. They snuck in as the automatic bid out of the Pac-12, and here they are.
Oh, they won that tournament?
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's awesome.
No,
and they dominated the first round too.
I actually I've always loved March Madness, and this year I've even started watching a little bit. And it's kind of sad. I was actually didn't fill a bracket. I didn't really watch the first round, and I was like, man, I'm missing something, And then I watched the second round. I'm like, okay,
yep.
This is
to me.
Pretty great,
so
right?
I love the tournament in general, but the first 4 days of March Madness are the best sports days of the year because it is literally 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. just straight up college basketball. So you're watching for the upset, and it's just awesome.
Well, I remember when you used to always go to Sam's house and play mini ball while the first round went on. Those were the best days ever.
Best days ever.
I look forward to every year that happens.
Every year in March, I was thinking I think about that, how I would go back to my place and play some mini ball, watch the games, nothing better. And then just not only the first few days, but when we get one of those big runs to the Final Four, like Loyola or George Mason or VCU.
Yep.
That's so, and you're rooting for them so hard in the Final Four. One of these years, one of those teams is going to prevail and win the championship. Maybe not an Oral Roberts, obviously, but some team who's actually a good team. If you watched
when Gordon Hayward and Butler came within 3 inches of beating Duke for a championship.
I thought that was going down. That half court heave at the end there by Hayward. Oh man, yeah, awesome stuff.
It's the best, man.
That's a good one, JT.
So glad to have it back. Oh, but also, so speaking of brackets, I'm so glad I didn't do this. I almost texted you guys the day before the tournament started and said, hey, I'm feeling pretty good about my bracket this year. So I don't know if you've seen the standings in McKim's bracket pool.
Yes, you're almost dead last.
54th out of 57 or something. It's been so bad.
Dude, I was gonna say something to both of you. I swear, everybody from the Midwest, they watch the Big Ten tournament and then they pick whoever wins it. Well, that's what you guys kind of did.
Usually I give the Big Ten almost no love. Normally I do not like the teams that come out of the Big Ten. I watched Illinois more than I should have this year, and I love them more than I should have this year. But god dang, they had looked so good. I don't understand what happened.
They got a tough draw.
Well, I love that one guy that they have. That's literally why I picked him to win the championship. You know what I'm talking about? The
Kobe pose, with the
yeah. Oh Big god, that was one of the greatest college basketball photos of all time. And then so I picked JT. We both picked Illinois, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So that's I should have just went Gonzaga. I had Gonzaga in the championship, and they're clearly the best team in this tournament. I think, with my little the little I've watched college basketball this year. So
that's the fun thing about March, though. You're clearly the best team in the tournament until you're not. So you think about Cat's team when he was at Kentucky. They were unstoppable until they weren't, and Wisconsin beat them in the Final Four. It's crazy.
Wisconsin was awesome too, though.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to move on to the meat and potatoes of today's show. I think we got everybody all fired up, so that's good. We've done our job here.
Half hour in.
Yeah, well, only 23 minutes, so nice and short. Yeah. But we're here talking about the trade deadline today. We had, I think they said, a record number of trades, players involved, and teams involved, at least within the last 35 years. So a lot of activity, although there were some big names that did not end up moving. What did you guys think of the trade deadline?
It was exciting. There was a couple moves I wish some of the bigger names I wish it would have happened. I mean, we were talking this earlier before the podcast, but it would have been fun if Lowry went to a contending team. It would have been fun if some of the top teams got players, but in general, it was exciting, and I think it did shape up at least one contending team with Denver where it could actually affect things. I also think it was refreshing to see a team like Chicago that was kind of middle of the pack in the NBA actually kind of go for it. I know what most teams do is either bottom out or go for the championship, and teams never kind of stay in the middle. At least like they're trying to compete, they're trying to win, they're trying to maximize Levine. So I commend them. I'm not sure if I love the moves, but they'll be better for sure.
It feels
coming playoff time.
It feels a little bit like the Phoenix trade for Chris Paul. I mean, obviously Vucevic isn't the same kind of like game changing player as Paul, but he's an all-star center. He's a great player. And yeah, like you said, middle of the pack team making a move, trying to build off a little bit of momentum after they've been in the cellar for years. That is fun to see too. You kind of wish you'd see the Wolves do it every once in a while. Although I guess we did with Butler, but
yeah, that didn't go super well.
Right.
But Sam, I saw you shake your head a little bit with the Denver. You don't think that Aaron Gordon makes too much of a difference?
No, I was not in an agreement. I like the trade. I think he's definitely so. It still doesn't like put Denver in front of like either LA team. To me, it makes them marginally better. But when you look at what they're replacing from last year, Jeremy Grant, it's to me, I'd rather have Aaron Gordon. He just contributes in more ways, and he's a better defensive player. His athleticism and length can cause problems. And then if now they got his bird right, so if they keep him and this works, then I think it's going to be obviously a great trade. But it wasn't enough to like push them in front of. But there really wasn't a trade out there that, in my mind, that probably would have pushed them in front. So at least to give them a more competitive advantage for those teams, I actually really like that trade. So I was nodding in agreement with you on that one.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because I think it gives them at least a shot against the LA teams.
Yeah, exactly.
Because at least they have a big defender that they can throw on LeBron, throw on AD, throw on Kawhi and Paul George. So I think it gives them a little bit more of a chance. And then, like you said, it kind of sets them up nicely like into the future where, what you want to do with their team, especially with Jokic, is surround them with like shooters and defenders, like 3-and-D guys. And Aaron Gordon, in theory, I'm not sure if he's quite that 3 part, but he's at least a D part, and he can develop into a 3-point shooter. And then on Jokic, I mean, he's going to get easy cuts. He's making his life just a ton easier.
Yeah,
so
sure.
some big pick and rolls. I'm kind of excited to see that. And honestly, I'd put them ahead of the Jazz in my opinion after that trade. Like just me, I just think like they're gonna have the best player in the series, and then now they have some defenders and it just upgrades their whole team. So I put them ahead of the Jazz now.
Yeah, I'm gonna hold off on that for now, but I think it certainly could put them ahead of them. And then as far as like Aaron Gordon being kind of that 3, and he's a little more than a 3-and-D guy. He contributes across the board. He's not. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't like marginalize his ability as like a 3-and-D type guy. I mean, he does so many things well. He's a good passer. He's a good defender. Yeah, he can shoot. He can get in the lane, do all that kind of stuff. But I think like a big part of it too, I totally forgot where I was going with that. But
I was gonna say, I think I might know what you're thinking. Like, so on the Magic, they always had 2 bigs next to him, and they also had him be like the main scorer. If he's like the ancillary scorer and running pick and rolls and cuts with Jokic, I mean that's gonna be huge for him.
Yeah, I mean more or less kind of what I was gonna say. Like, to me, he doesn't do like any one thing exceptionally well, but he just contributes across the board. So I think you got your star in Jokic. Now you're pairing him with another guy in the front court, and Aaron Gordon, and then Jamal Murray's kind of solidifying the backcourt for them. So I think the biggest thing with the Nuggets for me is like to take them to that next level is going to be the development of Porter. Like, I think if he can really like step up and take his game to the next level, that's when I'll be serious about putting them ahead of the Jazz and then considering them against the Lakers and Clippers. I think that's like the biggest piece, but overall, I mean, obviously a really solid team, and they're going to be a problem for anyone who they face in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think that actually it kind of helps his development too, because he doesn't have to guard like the best wings on a night-to-night basis. I think they can put Aaron Gordon on him on, he played the 4 on defense, and then Porter can play the 4 on offense. They can kind of switch and be versatile in that sense. And they're gonna be a huge team now too. I mean, every position they're gonna be above average. So that's gonna be fun to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're long in the play.
The Vucevic and Gordon trades, I think, definitely got the most press throughout the trade deadline. Would you say that the third biggest deal of that day was Oladipo to Miami? Do you think that moves the needle at all for that team?
For me personally, I think that was bigger than the Vooch trade.
Okay.
I mean, the Vooch trade is fine, but basically Miami stole Oladipo. First of all, they gave up absolutely nothing. I actually have this trade pulled up: Kelly Olynyk, Avery Bradley, and a 2022 first-round pick, a swapping rights pick. Like that's nothing. That's like a drop in the bucket for what Oladipo can provide. And now they got his bird rights. Now they can re-sign him. So they got the star that they can re-sign. And he's not like a star, but he's a really solid player. And then for me, like Oladipo, it's been rumored for a couple of years now he's been wanting to go to Miami. And like with Indiana, he was never bought in, and he certainly wasn't bought in with Houston. But now I think he buys in with Miami, and I think he fits their culture and their brand, like their defense. They're tough, and now you got perimeter defense with Jimmy Butler, with Oladipo, and then you got that inside presence in Bam. Like to me, this makes them. It's hard to put them up there with like the contenders. I don't know if they can come out of the East yet with this trade, but I think it was a very good trade, and I think Miami, again, like Denver, is going to be a problem in the playoffs.
Yeah, well, I think it was all upside, like one, they didn't give up like anything. So, and he doesn't have any years on his contract. So, if he hasn't played well this year, like, and he hasn't come back the same from injury. So, if he doesn't play, if he's been playing like he's been playing, that's real, then they can just cut bait. It's no big deal. They didn't lose anything, Yeah,
I reward no risk. Right.
Yeah, exactly. So, but then if he does come back like the old Oladipo, they have another like certified semi-star to place with Butler, and that just gives them more dimensions, because Hero and Duncan, they obviously provide a lot of offense, but sometimes on defense that's where they're lacking. That's where they got exposed in the finals. But Victor kind of gives them that in between where he can play defense and play offense. So if he comes back anything like he was 2 years ago, that could be huge for them, and that could make them a contender. I'm not saying like I'm not going to bet on it, but like
we saw what happened last year, right?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So
and
then some upside.
Yeah. And so the other piece of this, too, is that Aldridge, I believe, was bought out, LaMarcus Aldridge, and now they're talking about the Heat being the front runners to sign him. So now you're talking about, a starting lineup of Dragic, Oladipo, Butler, Aldridge, and Bam. And I know, Oladipo hasn't really been the same. Aldridge is obviously on the tail end of his career. But then you've got a couple of those shooters coming off the bench. Miami looks better and better kind of as the days roll on here. And they've been playing better anyway with the group that they have.
Although they have lost 5 in a row. So they've been actually kind of... But...
Butler, I think, has been out semi-recently, too.
He got sick. But, I think actually Victor might be their, sixth man. And I don't know. I think Aldridge is wash. So I'm not sure if he'll help any. But at least he's like another guy you can throw out there for a different lineup against a big team.
Yeah.
So that's another upside deal. So...
Yep.
And I think this move just rejuvenates like Oladipo. Like now he's like got something to play for again. He was going nowhere in Indiana and he was going nowhere in Houston. Now he's got like I'm pretty sure because it's been rumored that he's wanted to go there since Jimmy Butler went there and Jimmy Butler wanted to go there. So I imagine they're probably pretty close too. So.
Oh yeah, well his teammates hated him in Indiana, and then Houston they lost like 20 straight games. So it's like, yeah, you're probably not gonna look great when that's happening.
On the flip side of things, this is terrible for Houston, like the whole ordeal. Like they're going into full-scale rebuild mode, and all they ended up getting for Harden was what?
A bunch of
nothing.
Yeah.
Well,
so,
I saw something similar too that said they could have had Karis LeVert and Jared Allen.
Yeah.
And they turned it into Avery Bradley and Kelly Olynyk. What was the point?
Yeah. Like that's so bad. And then. But the thing I will say, like I was talking about Kevin Porter in our group text earlier, like I think a part of the reason was like they're committed just to let this guy. I mean, they have nothing to play for anymore. They've lost 20-some straight games, and they just want to unleash this guy. Like they got him for nothing after Cleveland released him, and I think personally, I love his game. Like I don't usually have strong opinions about guys coming out of the draft, as we figured out in our draft podcast that we did. But he was one guy that I actually took a particularly strong stance on. Like I really liked him. He went end of the first round a couple years back, 2 years back. And so I'm really excited to watch him play.
Well, I honestly too. It might have been like by design where like the GM was trying to tank.
Yeah.
And like honestly, that might have kept his job longer than like keeping Oladipo or keeping Levert and Allen. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe it's a Philly West, in Houston. So.
Well, yeah. I mean that very well could be the case. I don't see any, real assets on this roster other than Christian Wood. And I mean, I guess you rolled
Rashawn Tate or
Kevin Porter Jr. Are we completely ignoring everything I'm saying?
Jason Tate.
Hold on. So I think Porter could be decent, but he's the kind of guy that it's like, okay, we're going to be really awful. This guy is kind of interesting to watch. He could have some upside here. Let's just throw him out there playing 40 minutes a game. He'll score 25 points.
Yeah, let him take 30 shots a game and just handle the rock. Yeah, I completely agree with that. There's no question about it. And he's kind of like the guy with the attitude, like, I just want to ball and like get out my shot. Like the guy in the gym where you go to who just like takes every shot from three. It
feels like when the Wolves traded for Michael Beasley.
Yeah. But
or I was gonna say Anthony Randolph.
Oh yeah. He never got as much run though as we probably wished he would have at the time.
There's like 6 teams though, like, oh, this guy's one of the most talented guys in the league. And once he gets minutes, blah blah, and he just sucked.
Yeah. Well, so those are obviously 3 of the biggest trades of the day. A couple of the more interesting notes too were a couple of the bigger names that didn't move. So obviously, we talked about the buyout candidates that have been sort of just riding pine. So there was Aldridge, who's already been bought out. Drummond, who I think has he been bought out now too? Yeah. So they didn't find deals for those guys, but obviously they're moving on. But then there was also Lonzo Ball, and I think the weirdest one of all was Kyle Lowry. I thought that was just so strange, with what kind of Lowry has meant to that team, for there to be all the trade rumors, for him to kind of react the way that he did, kind of coming off the court after that last game before the deadline, and then say, stopping the press conference because he got the FaceTime from Drake and saying, like, it's weird that, that my tenure could be over. I don't know. I've never seen so much writing on a wall without anything actually happening as a result of it, for him to just stay there. It was so weird.
Yeah. I have a response to that. Before I do it, I have to talk about the one trade that you glossed over. Dylan, you're laughing. You know what trade it is. So you tell me.
Oh, no. I thought you were talking about Kevin Porter again.
No. Yeah. I'm going to stop. JT, I'm just going to stop there.
I got one more thing.
I got one more thing on Kevin Porter Jr. No. But because we talked about it and are all fired up. Norman Powell moving to the Blazers. And, sorry, all fantasy stuff aside, I thought this was a terrible move for the Blazers. What are you doing? Gary Trent Jr. is so much younger. He's the same type of player, and he's got we talked about upside earlier, but I don't know how much upside Gary Trent Jr. has. But even so, he's 22 years old. He's shooting over 40% from the field, from 3, or at least he was as a couple of weeks ago. But I heard he was in a little bit of a drought. But
he's on a good contract too.
Yeah, and then he's on a good contract. He's a restricted free agent, so they can match any offer. And then with Norman Powell, they're probably just going to lose him for nothing. So they gave up Gary Trent Jr. It just seemed like a really lateral movement to me. Why are you giving up a good young player for a guy who's an expiring contract that you'd have to re-sign? And Powell's having a great year, but it doesn't move the needle. Blazers aren't all of a sudden now much better team, and it's going to end up losing a young player.
If you do that, I almost feel like it's think about the trade last year that the Wolves got for Beasley, right? I think I don't know how you don't look at Malik Beasley and think he's a pretty capable NBA player. Obviously, he was a little bit buried in the depth chart there. But for the Nuggets to make the deal that they did then, and for the Blazers to make the deal that they did now, I almost feel like you have to be convinced that you are not going to match whatever offers they get because of your own salary cap situation or because what they're going to get on the open market. And you just make whatever deal you can to get a player that you consider better for your system. And I don't know much about the defensive capabilities of Powell or Trent, but I don't think
Powell's a pretty good defender, I think.
And I don't think Trent is particularly good, is he?
Right.
So maybe,
I don't think so.
that's the move they were going for. I don't know.
Well, I think they're both like pretty similar, but like Powell can like slide up to the small forward and defend. He's a little bigger, so that probably helps their team a little bit. But yeah, it feels very lateral and
Yeah.
yeah. And I mean, I guess I'm not sure how the mechanics would work and what first round picks, but you think they'd want to like give a pick instead of like a young player like Gary Trent, or and he's also like a guy that can play in the playoffs. If they're going for it all, why would you give away like it's a slight upgrade? When you could have probably just gave like a first round pick and it would have been the same deal.
Yeah, and like I said, with the whole contract situation, you can keep Trent on at a reasonable. I mean, you can match any offer, and then with I think Norman Powell has a player option, but it's outside of what his actual value is. So
yeah, it's like
the overpaying if you wanted to keep him. Yeah. So it's like, anyways, to your Kyle Lowry point, JP. But I like Kyle Lowry. I don't know if I've said this before, at least on this pod or even to you guys, but he's one of my favorite players in the league. Like I absolutely love Kyle Lowry because he's just like, to me, he's like a poor man's. Should I use the word poor man? Yeah, he's like a poor man's Chris Paul. Like he's got that same like attitude and mindset, like kind of like a pit bull mindset. Like he's gonna do whatever it takes to win. He's gonna like lay out. He's gonna put his body on the hardwood and like all that good stuff. I just love those type of players. And then he's just kind of got that grit and that toughness to him. So I really wanted to see him go to a contender. Unfortunately, that didn't pan out. There's talks about him going to the Lakers, and I was like really giddy for a little bit there. And I would have just loved that, but
yeah, I'm not sure if this is true. But this is what I just read was that like the whole up was THT, like so they're gonna do a Schroeder, THT, and like KCP for Lowry, and I was like, man, like I get it, two younger guys for like a 35-year-old, and then KCP who's been a helpful player, but it's like we're trying to maximize LeBron's window, and that guy is gonna play like at the highest level. He's gonna perform, and I'm not saying Schroeder. I don't know about THT. I think Schroeder can and at some point will. KCP already proven to, but like Lowry, we know he's gonna be play at the highest level. He's gonna be lights are bright. He's gonna shine.
He's got championship DNA.
Yeah, and if they're playing like the Nets, like Lowry, like Kyrie and Harden, like he'd be the perfect guy to go with them.
You want that toughness and you want that grit, especially when you're going up against like a guy like Kyrie Irving, because it's a crash course between Brooklyn and LA. I mean, that's what everyone's kind of assuming for now.
As long as everybody's healthy, yeah.
Kyle Lowry would have made that series so much more intriguing. But
what did Russillo say? I listened to his podcast and he's like, Lowry would do anything. He'd ask Kyrie like, so he's like, so Kyrie, like, what if land's actually water, and water we could actually walk on, and like some stupid shit like that. It's like, yeah, Lowry actually do some shit like that,
Yeah, and then now with the whole Drummond buyout, it's rumored that there's a lot of rumors going on, but I just read one that the Lakers are the front runner, and I can't verify like the validity of the source, but I don't have my own sources. This is all on Twitter. But
I heard Knicks.
Yeah, if it depends on, I guess, what Drummond wants. Like if he wants money, then go to the Knicks, but because obviously the Lakers, they can only give him so much, right?
Yeah.
So in 2011, Andre Drummond tweeted, "One of my goals in life is to meet and play with or against LeBron James." And also, I just figured out about this now from the same source, but apparently he's like really good friends with AD too, Drummond and AD.
Oh, really?
So like that makes me more confident, because I always thought that the Nets were the front runner, but it seems like that steam's kind of died down a little bit since they got Blake Griffin. And I'd much rather have Drummond than Blake Griffin, in my opinion. So I think if they would have got Lowry and then had Drummond at the 5, AD, LeBron, oh my gosh, I would be like all in. But I hope they still get Drummond.
Yeah, I think he'd be an improvement for sure. I don't know if he'd like play like in the finals. I'm not sure how much he'd play. I think he'd kind of be like a better Dwight, but I think he'd still help, especially in the regular season when they're struggling right now without those guys out.
I'm thinking about LeBron and what comes to mind with like a center like that, like a Timothy Mozgov. Remember in Cleveland when he went solo with Timothy Mozgov in that playoff run? Like he's just a guy like he's just like a I don't know, with the like a blue collar type player who's just gonna like go up, grab rebounds, defend. I feel like that's really valuable for like a LeBron team. He's a guy that I've always wanted to play with LeBron for some reason. I don't know why. I like the idea of Drummond with LeBron. I don't know how it's gonna work out, but I don't know. I think it'd be cool to see. I think it would definitely make like the weakness that I feel like the Lakers have right now is a presence in the middle. Like Trez is undersized. He's just I'm not high on Trez. Like he's a good scorer, but to me like he's too undersized, and I think we saw it last year with the Clippers. He got marginalized and ended up getting benched and hardly playing in the playoffs. And I'm worried that could happen again. And then Gasol's just too slow. Like he's done at this point in my opinion. But a guy like Drummond gives them that interior presence that they're missing from last year's team when they had Dwight and JaVale. Who also the Nuggets got? We didn't mention that. That's a good pick.
Is there any like under radar trades that you guys like thought were really good trades or pickups?
I saw Nemanja Bjelica went to the
Miami.
Yeah, went to the Heat.
That's actually not a bad one.
I don't know if that actually like changes anything, or I know that it doesn't, but I was just surprised to see his name pop up in the trade deadline. I just haven't thought about him in like 2 years, so I kind of missed that guy though. I liked him when he was with the Wolves. He's
not a bad player. I mean, he's decent 10th guy.
Yeah, right.
You know? But the one I thought was a really good pickup was the Bulls' Daniel Tice from Boston. I mean, Boston is basically a salary dump, and like Tice is like a legit good player. You know, he might actually start on their team. So I think that was a sneaky good pickup. I mean, it's not going to change anything, but makes the Bulls better for sure.
Well, is Tice a power forward?
Power forward center depends on. You can kind of play both. I mean, he's undersized center.
I mean, he's not going to start at center with Vooch there, but
no, but like but he could be like you play power forward next to him. I mean, they're both pretty versatile. So.
Well, if last year's playoffs are any indication, you guys are missing the biggest trade that occurred during the trade deadline.
Oh, Rondo, get out of here.
How weird is it going to be though, watching like if we do get a Clippers Lakers finals, and I feel like that could be in jeopardy now because LeBron and AD are out, so they might get pushed to the same region.
The Clippers haven't been that great.
Yeah. So. But how it's just gonna be if they match up in the playoffs? How weird it's gonna be to see Rondo and the Clippers going against like LeBron and those guys. So I don't know. I thought that was it.
That was kind of a weird trade from the perspective of it was two teams trying to win, swapping players that they think will help them win.
Like a mutually beneficial.
Yeah. You don't. I feel like you don't see those kinds of deals that often, but.
But it makes sense because like Rondo's like a 0 in the regular season, and like. The Clippers don't care about that.
Yeah.
While like the Atlanta like actually is trying to play for like a seed and get in the playoffs. So like Lou Williams helps more in the regular season, but then it kind of switches roles in the playoffs. But do you guys think that was an aberration like last year with Rondo, or do you guys think it could happen again this year?
I don't think it was an aberration at all. I think at this point in Rondo's career, like the regular season's a drag for him. Like he just wants to get to the playoffs and play with the contender. He probably knew when he signed with Atlanta that he was going to end up getting bought out and going to a contender, and he just took the most money that he could get. And to me, it's all about playoffs. And his IQ is on such another level, and then his intangibles and his like experience, like. I think like that cannot be undervalued. And last year he was such a huge part of that playoff run, and I would not bet against him.
No, I get what you're saying. He was awesome last year, awesome. But like that was like the first time in like 5 years he was good, you know, like at all. And like even like he was, I mean, he was on a couple like fringe playoff or maybe even playoff teams, but like I was thinking more like okay, he was on LeBron's team, and LeBron could be like, yo. Like
that's what I'm saying. He needs like.
You think that'll happen to the Clippers though? Like because they're
a contender, so I think he's gonna make a difference. I don't know if he's gonna make the difference, but I think he'll make a difference.
Well, I just kind of think about it as like Lakers had such strong leadership and such like defined roles, and like Clippers are kind of like a little bit of a mess, and they don't have like a defined leader, you know. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about with that. But I mean, Lou Williams wasn't doing anything in the playoffs for him anyway, so it's a good gamble for sure.
It sounds like a Clippers problem more than a Rondo problem, though.
Yeah. Well, but you know, it's kind of like, you know.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Connecting the dots and yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you guys think about like Atlanta, just in general? Because they're a team that I'm always super interested. I love Atlanta, like their young core.
I guess that's one more name that didn't move too is John Collins. Didn't go anywhere.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. And not so much the Lou Williams. I was just asking you guys in general. How do you guys feel about? Because I really like it. They're one of my favorite young teams.
I don't know that I feel great about them. I don't feel like a lot of their young talent is like going to end up being high-end young talent. Like Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, Okongwu, or whatever, how do you say his last name? Like they're guys that have some potential and they've flashed maybe a little bit, but I don't know. They don't personally do much for me.
I'm talking about like their long term, like
I know.
This year. Yeah.
I'm still just not sure what that team ends up being with those guys.
Right.
Like I think they could all end up being very solid NBA players, or they could all end up being like below average NBA players. And what are you left with at that point? I don't know. I just can't make heads or tails of where that really goes.
Yeah, I kind of agree. I kind of feel like they're like, I guess the Bulls like right now, you know, where like they could like top out as like maybe a first round win, but I'm not sure how much, unless they get some other players. I'm not sure how high their ceiling is.
Yeah,
I guess I'm just probably the reason I like them so much is because I'm for some reason. It might not make sense, but I'm really high on DeAndre Hunter. I think he could be a really good player. Yeah, I really like him. And then you have like Trae Young, and then if just like one of those other guys develops into like a franchise piece moving forward, like a Cam Reddish, I feel like they'd be. I mean, that's a good core to build around, and then they'll have the cap space flexibility. Like Atlanta's a decent market. Like they might be able to attract some. Free agents and stuff, but I don't know, just a team I like to watch.
I hear you.
Yep. Well,
Trae's fun.
Trae is fun. Yeah, it'll just be kind of interesting to see how the rest of that core develops around him and what they can really do with it. But all right, that'll have to wrap up our discussion on the NBA trade deadline. Overall, a pretty active day, even with some of the names that didn't end up swapping places, but man, the NBA stays exciting no matter what. So, but with that, we're going to move on to our second segment of the day, and those are our second half predictions. So we're right around the corner from we're right past the corner from the All-Star break. We just passed the trade deadline, and we're coming up to that playoff push for a lot of these teams. What do you guys got? What are you guys thinking for the second half?
I'll go first. Okay. So I want to do like one like bold prediction. So, and I thought I should have thought more about it before I made that. But like one in the East, one in the West. I think Milwaukee will end up having number one seed. I'm not sure if that's really bold as a prediction, but with the way the Nets and Philly have been playing, I think that's
2 games out.
Oh yeah, but still, like I mean, like Nets been playing awesome too. Okay, fine. You want a bigger one?
Yeah.
All right, Denver. That's only 3.5. I think they'll finish at a number 2.
Yeah,
3 games out of.
Especially the moves they've made.
3.5. I mean, there's only how many games are left? There's like 30 games left. 3.5. That's a lot of games.
Yeah, not even for some of these teams. We're playing 72, so it's maybe 28 games.
Yeah, goddamn.
Let's hear it, Dylan.
No, let's hear you guys. Give me some.
Oh.
Yeah, I want to hear bold prediction.
All right. I don't have much in the way of. Well, this will probably end up being bold. The only reason why I feel like this is bold is because they're currently down by 11 to the Rockets, but. I actually think so. There are 2 outcomes for the Wolves. they are either actually going to completely bottom out and try to keep that top 3 pick, or they have to get outside of the top 5. I think we make it outside of the top 5. I think once Beasley and Russell are back, that we actually end up stringing together a pretty decent end of the year, and we get over the teams that are actively tanking, and we wind up in maybe 6th or 7th. And, we don't feel quite as bad about losing that pick to the Warriors. That's my prediction.
It's pretty bold, but I have to let you know that right now we're losing by 11 to the Houston Rockets.
I just said that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Sorry, I missed that part. But you really think that we're going to finish outside the top 5? Or is that just like a
So right now, in order to do that, we have to. Oh man, the Cavs are making it tough on us. We've got to make up 7 games over the next, 28.
There's no way, JT.
You high?
I think we could play like 500 ball if those teams if those teams are actively tanking. If Finch can make it work with Russell and Beasley, we are not that bad. We can't be that bad.
So
Detroit, Houston, Orlando, I could see, but we're not catching. I don't think we're going to catch Washington or Cleveland's been.
Washington's the same record as Orlando.
Yeah, I know, but they're like trying to win. They didn't trade away their 3 best guys.
Well, you can't trade Westbrook, and Beal doesn't seem like he actually wants to go anywhere, so you're not going to trade him. I mean,
well, yeah, I know, but I'm just saying they didn't trade their 3 best players. That's what Orlando did.
Well, yeah, I understand we've got a tough road ahead. I think we can do it. I want to see us do it. I just don't. At some point, you gotta, and with Finch being a new hire, you can't just like bring him in and then say, you know what, like, happy to have you, but nah, we're not. We're gonna sit down, Cat. We're gonna sit down, Russell, for the end of this year, and we're just gonna ride it out. And you're just gonna. This is gonna
honestly,
suck.
you don't even have to sit them to tank. You just play them, and you're still tanking.
I don't know. I mean,
No,
you wanted a bold prediction. There it is, man.
I've actually liked what I've seen. Like I've said that a couple times this year, but then I guess last game they sucked.
Well,
but
right. Well,
there's been flashes, and it's usually when Edwards plays well, but he's been just so inconsistent. He's been so inconsistent. But no, I see it too, JT. I see it. It's just I'm not sure if that's a lot of ground to make up.
I had gone into this.
For a bad team.
I had gone into this thinking that was going to be my bold prediction for the second half. I wasn't quite aware it was 7 games we'd need to get there. So I thought it was more like 5, which, that's in the realm, maybe. 7 is definitely a stretch. But
Hey, Sam, I want to hear you say that Cleveland's going to make the playoffs or the play-in.
Oh, yeah. What's the deal with that?
What do you mean?
Bottom 4 teams, it's 7 through 10.
Yeah, 7 through 10. So if they make the 10th seed.
So if they get the 10th seed, they have an opportunity to
They're technically
play their way
in the playoffs. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it like a 1-game type deal?
So if you're 7 and 8 play
The 7, yeah. I believe the 7 plays the 10, the 8 plays the 9. The 7 and 8 only have to win 1 game, and the 9 and 10 have to win 2 games. Is that how it works?
Yeah, for some reason I thought it was, I need to look into that. I don't think it was 7-10.
I have no.
Also, whatever the case is, I'm not gonna pick that. I bought my Cleveland stock for the long term. Like, I don't. This year, whatever. Like they're building. They got Jared Allen. They got some assets. This is a long-term thing. I'm holding on to my Cleveland stock.
That's fair.
I'm certainly not gonna sell it this year and try to hope they get to the playoffs. And they've been playing terrible lately too. By the way.
They've been bad.
Although, did they just beat the Nets? I think they got the Nets number. Well, maybe they didn't. No, it was the Bulls.
It's those Jared Allen revenge games.
Yeah, true. That's true.
All right, I got one. I got a real one. So Zion plays like the MVP of the second half, and like people are gonna be getting MVP hype going into next year.
No.
Yeah, that's dumb.
Sorry. So I think
hey, before you speak, they're beating Denver by 9 right now. My other prediction team. and he has 31, 8, and 5 on 13 and 16 shooting.
So your Denver prediction's not looking so good.
Yeah, Milwaukee's losing by like 20 to freaking the Celtics too. It's like, oh my god.
Gordon's not actually playing yet, is he?
No.
No.
Yeah, he's in my fantasy lineup though. I forgot to take him out. So. Yep. Not going to be satisfied when I look at that line tonight. So I don't know if I have like a real bull. I didn't really put too much thought into it. Like, I want to say the Celtics are going to find their second half, like second win, but
oh, you saw that score and you're like, oh, I'm in.
Big win on the road versus Milwaukee. Yeah. No, but I was looking at the standings earlier, and first of all, they're 21 and 23. I don't even know how that's possible.
Yeah.
How is that possible? It's like.
Do you want to hear what
Tatum and Jaylen Brown? They should not let that happen.
Do you want to heard?
Let's hear it. Yeah.
Okay.
Some juicy rumors.
Yeah. I actually heard it from KOC, so it's not really like that. Anyways, I guess Marcus Smart's like really upset that he's in trade rumors. I guess Tristan Thompson is going out every night, and people are just fed up with this shit.
And then it's safe to say he's not with Chloe at the moment.
Probably not.
I thought he was back.
I mean, if he's going out every night, yeah.
Maybe she's going out every night. He's got to keep an eye on her.
Yeah, it's true. I wouldn't bet long term on those two if that's the case. I did hear about the Tristan rumors, and then did you see the tweet the other day with it was either Tatum or Brown? I think it was Brown. He tweeted like TT's. He's like our guy. Like, you know, those rumors are like false or whatever.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's just one guy. It could be like a split locker room, right?
Well, and that's the other thing is so the Celtics have a really small locker room. So they actually like legitimately have a split locker room at home because it's too small. They need more space. So they
got Thompson in his own room.
Yeah, seriously. No, but they have their young guys and veterans, and so I guess they've never gelled like the young guys and veterans because they're always they're actually legitimately in split locker rooms.
That's so.
Is that bizarre?
That is very strange.
In 2021, that's a thing. Like,
yeah,
they just knocked down a wall and.
Yeah, right.
Like,
I feel like Stevens would have brought a sledgehammer in there after lost to the Rockets or something and just said, "Okay, we're done with this."
Before every game, he has to give two pregame
speeches. Well, yeah, you think they make like alternate room or something? Like, Jesus, like how hard is this?
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah.
That's stupid.
Yeah, I haven't watched them that much, but I did have them on the other night, maybe like a week or two ago, and I can't remember who was doing the game, but they were basically breaking down how they felt like, and you know, with obviously the game's not like on TNT or something, and we know how those commentators can be sometimes, but they were basically laying out the fact that they felt like years past the Celtics have played as sort of like, you know, a Spurs-like team, right? It's about the Warriors-like team. It's about ball movement. It's about playing as a unit. And this year, it just seems like, you know, Walker and Tatum and Brown, like when it comes down to it, they're all trying to play their own brand of hero ball, and it's just not working. But I can't really grant any legitimacy to that claim. But
no. I mean, they're actually kind of right. I mean, they don't have like. It's just like the style of their top three guys, you know. It's like they're all like more one-on-one players, you know, and they need to be set up. They don't have any like ball movers or playmakers, you know. So there's legitimacy to that. And like if you think about it, like who's a good passer on their team? I mean, Marcus Smart's probably the best one. He's been out for a while, and then even Marcus Smart's like a little above average, maybe. Yeah, you know.
I feel like if anyone has to take on that role, I guess who would take on that role? Like my first thought was Kemba, but I would say more so of Jason Tatum almost being the facilitator.
I agree. He probably has most potential, but I think he's just so like still young, you know. Yeah. He's not ready for that.
That's another thing. Like we put so much, but I mean they should be a lot better than they are right now. So it's. You know, it's right that we kind of criticize him for the way they played this year. But also Tatum's like what, 20? He's like you got to go through some stuff in the league before he like can like lead a team and like consistently win. So I don't know, maybe it's just a youth anything.
Well, yeah, and like Kemba hasn't been very good, and then Marcus Smart's been out, and then the rest of their guys suck. Like the rest of their team, like 3 through like 12 is bad. So not really. I'm surprised, but not that surprised.
Does Fournier move the needle at all?
He probably helps. You don't have to put the Semi Ojeleye in there, or guys like that. Carson Edwards.
Yeah. Hey, I loved him in college.
I do like Edwards. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just not good at basketball. NBA basketball.
Yeah, he had a good run in the NCAA tournament, didn't he, Edwards?
Yeah.
Did they go to the Final Four?
They made. I can't remember how far they made it, but yeah, he was lighting it up for a while there.
He had like 40 in like a couple of games. Oh, yeah. Timberwolves only down by 9. JT, nice prediction.
Yeah, turning the season around.
Yeah. JT holds off on his prediction for like a couple minutes. He's like, "You guys keep talking. I just want to see how this one plays out."
All right. Well, we those are our predictions, I guess, for the second half. Sam and I did our best to be bold, and Dylan kind of gave us a couple of underwhelming predictions. But what can you do?
Did Sammy make a prediction?
I did it. Let me do one on the spot real quick before you move on, JT, just so I can say that I did one.
Okay.
I think my bold prediction will be at the end of the season.
Oh no.
Coach of the year will go to Tom Thibodeau.
How is that bold?
It's not bold.
I mean, it's pretty bold. Come on,
is he probably the leader right now?
He's got the Knicks in like a top 4 seed, aren't they?
I would feel like Doc Rivers would probably be the front runner. Oh, well, let's see here. Let me real quick see what odds are.
Okay.
Because maybe it's
sure.
maybe what?
He's probably top 3 for sure.
Yeah.
That's true. Anyways, all right.
It's probably Quinn Snyder, number 1.
Oh yeah, Quinn Snyder and Doc Rivers, I feel like would be ahead of him.
Well, look it up.
All right, I will do that. What do you guys think? Is there anyone else that we're missing?
No, or who's in? I don't even know who Phoenix's coach is.
Oh yeah, who is Phoenix's
coach?
It's
I like him.
Monty Williams.
Monty Williams, yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. They got Monty.
That was a complete guess. I half thought I was making up that name.
No, that was a poll. Hell of a poll.
Monty?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I feel like everyone likes Monty.
I love
him. He's just like what? Yeah. Like didn't he tragically lose like his whole family?
I think his wife died.
Yeah, it's so sad. Like it was like a car accident, was it?
Yeah, I was about to anoint Finch as the coach of the year after that. Was it Portland game or was it the?
Oh,
there's a couple games after the Phoenix game. I was about to anoint him the coach of the year, and then it didn't go so well the next game.
All right. No. All right. Oh no, they don't have.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah,
that's okay.
Well, they don't have that on.
We're gonna hypothesize that Quinn Snyder's at the top, and we're gonna wrap up our prediction segment because we need to.
That was brutal.
Great segue. Okay, here it is. It's Quinn Snyder 1, Monty Williams 2, Doc Rivers 3, Tyronn Lue 4.
What?
Steve Nash 5, Frank Vogel's.
Steve Nash isn't even a head coach. Ask Kyrie.
This was on March 8th. Quinn Snyder, Monty, Doc, Tyronn Lue, Steve Nash, Frank Vogel, Taylor Jenkins, Greg Popovich, Brad Stevens, and then Tom Thibodeau. That can't be right.
That's brutal.
That's wrong. What website are you on, dude?
I just typed in Coach of the Year odds NBA and clicked on the first link, VegasInsider.com. All right, JT, sorry. Anyways, you can move on.
We'll wrap it up.
You didn't have the most graceful of segues, anyways. So
it would have been great if we weren't waiting for you to look up random odds. You're killing me, Smalls. All right. Well, that's all we got anyway. Last thing we got on tap is letting everybody know what's on deck until our next episode, which hopefully is not a month from now. Without the Open getting in the way, I can hopefully hypothesize it won't be. But Dylan, what do you got going on until next time?
Okay, so I have to bring it up. I have to bring it up every segment, every episode. Top Shot They came out. Okay, there's some actually cool developments. One, they got badges for the moments, but two, which I think is the coolest thing, is they're very soon gonna have tangible benefits that go along with their moments. So like, I think I talked about this with you guys either on an episode or just in person, how like there was some bands that were giving out like lifetime passes to their concerts. They're do something that with the NBA. So you're gonna either get tickets with a moment, you're gonna get season passes, you're gonna get like meet and greets and stuff, and I think that'll be really cool, and I think that'll actually kind of move the needle on the Top Shot coming more mainstream for people. I'm also golfing this weekend too, so
that's nice. Yeah, heard the Red Wing courses were opening back up, huh?
Yep, I'm going. I'm pretty excited about that.
Good. Yeah, need to work on the game before Minong this summer.
Yeah. Anything about Top Shot?
No. I mean, it's cool. They're adding more sort of tangible inclusions to ownership and stuff there. That will be, I think, a good addition. So, kind of a cool way to use their support too.
Thanks, man.
You're welcome. Sam, what do you got going on?
Before I talk about that,
is it Porter again?
Yes. No. The Tom Thibodeau is actually a bold prediction. I'm looking at this, and he's actually like legitimately outside of the top 10 or like right inside the top 10. I mean, they're 23 and 22. It's not like they're like setting the world on fire.
I think they were picked to be like the last team in the league though, so that's like pretty crazy.
Yeah, I don't know. Odds apparently don't give him much of a chance. But anyways, that is a bold prediction, and I'm sticking with it.
Hell yeah.
Anyways, what I have going on. Well, first off, I do need to apologize for the beard that I'm rocking right now. So I think the big thing for me, the really exciting thing that I have going on is that I might shave. That's literally about it. I honestly I didn't know what to say for this. I didn't think about too much about it, but yeah, I mean, other than that, I don't know. We had I've been off a little bit all week because of the events that transpired like right down the street in Boulder, and which was just terrible. And so for some reason I just been like off all week, and I don't know. I didn't really put too much thought into this particular one, but yeah, I might shave soon.
I wouldn't.
And I do need to apologize for my appearance on this podcast.
No, you're beautiful.
I appreciate that, JT. Not as beautiful as Collins, though. How is she doing?
She's doing pretty good. I brought her to a physical therapist appointment this morning, which she has to do because she's got like a little bit of a flat spot. So like she'll like tend to sleep totally on that one side. So like we've got to take her to that, and they like turn her neck around a whole bunch. She was just awful during the appointment this morning. She was just crying during the whole thing. So yeah, that's is what it is, I guess, with a 3-month-old. But no, other than that, you know what? She's been pretty good, and she's starting to, I think, getting closer and closer to crawling every day, which seems really crazy. But I mean, I guess the months are flying by a little bit too. So
can't take her eye off her anymore. She'll be in another room.
Yeah, right. I'll actually enjoy that, I think, because right now I think part of the reason why she gets so cranky sometimes is because, I mean, she can't go anywhere. She can't flip over. She just sits there, and it's like, well, she wants to do something fun, but it's like, dude, you're a baby. Like, what am I supposed to do with you?
She can be scrapping with the cat pretty quick.
Well, that's true. Yeah, she's going to have to be careful because Maya will put her in her place, like, immediately. So, there'll be a couple of showdowns there, maybe.
Does a cat even, like, how do they interact with one another?
They don't. Like, the cat will sort of, like, come over and, like, really gingerly, like, sniff her head. And then, like, Collins will sort of, like, do one of these. And then just the cat will freak out and run away. Like, they haven't interacted hardly at all. Which is probably for the best.
JT, my other buddy Ryan has a baby, and they're having a 1-year-old birthday party, and they're inviting like us to it. Will you do that for either 1 years old or maybe like 3 months, 6 months, something like that?
Yeah, we're planning a birthday party. I'm just not sure you're invited.
Oh, okay. All right.
Quick score update. The Rockets and T-Wolves are tied.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. Good one, JT.
JT, great pick.
This game was 101-87. And they've scored 14 straight at least. It was 101-87.
Oh, Nuggets are up 3 now against the Pelicans.
Look at these predictions, man.
And Zion has 39, 11, and 5 on 16, 19 shooting.
Damn.
Knicks get the W.
That dude is nothing if not efficient, but yeah. So anyway,
what do you got going on?
Yeah, so like, I mean, you kind of alluded to it. I'm just, I'm being girl dad. Well, you can't even really call it girl dad at this point. I'm being baby dad for the most part, but otherwise, the court outside in the backyard is getting clear. And Danielle and I were actually out there shooting some hoops this afternoon. We played a game to 3, and I was exhausted at the end of it. So I've got to work on getting back in game shape if we're going to be back in rec league. That's all I know.
Yo, I've been doing like the CrossFit Open, and I'm ready to rip. JT, let's play some basketball.
I'm gonna be really. I might have to honestly go into retirement if we don't play this year in Bloomington. I'm not sure I can take 2 years off.
That's probably fair.
Yeah.
Hey, JT. By the way, first birthday, you have to get a Top Shot account so we can give John Collins 2 Collins. We already talked about this.
And Zach Collins.
And Zach Collins.
Well, we'll see if Dapper Labs gets their act together or not before then.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, that's true.
Also, I haven't just thought I should put it on record. I have moved very little since the Open. You say that you're exhausted after a game to 3. I'd probably be exhausted in the first minute of that game. I haven't moved.
Sam, I like randomly check like whoop, like the 4 of us, and yeah, you actually haven't moved in like since the Open.
The sad thing is that there's 4 people in our group, and one person has COVID, and his numbers are better than me.
Although that was scary yesterday. He had like JT, when I play a basketball game, I have like a 15 strain, a full basketball game warm up. He had a 15 strain from laying in bed.
Jeez.
Yeah, dude, it's kind of crazy.
That bed must not be very comfy.
Yeah, no shit.
All right, well, that's gonna do it for us, guys. So until next time, I guess this is Roundball Radio, and thanks for those that have joined us on our way back here to the podcast network, and we'll catch you again on the next episode.
Peace.